Level 1 is where discipline doesn't really exist. Life is not something you direct. It just happens to you. You wake up when you feel like it, you eat what's in front of you, you work only when someone yells loud enough. Every decision is based on one question: do I feel like it right now? At this level, comfort isn't a treat, it's the operating system. If something feels boring, you avoid it. If something feels hard, you delay it. If something feels uncomfortable, you run from it and call it listening to yourself. On the surface, it can look fun. You chase entertainment, instant pleasure, easy dopamine, scrolling, snacking, binge watching, anything that keeps you from sitting alone with your own thoughts for more than 30 seconds. But underneath, there's a cost. You start breaking tiny promises to yourself. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up earlier. I'll fix this eventually. Tomorrow never comes, but the guilt does. You don't just feel lazy, you feel stuck inside a life you're not really steering. Responsibilities pile up. Messages stay unanswered. Deadlines turn into crises. You live in constant reaction. Always a little bit late. Always a little bit behind. Always a little bit ashamed. The dangerous part? People at this level rarely see it as a problem. They joke about it. I'm such a procrastinator. I work best under pressure. I'm just a go-with-the-flow type. But it isn't flow. It's drift. Drift away from your potential. Drift away from self-respect. Drift into a version of your life that happens by accident, not by design. Level 1 discipline isn't really discipline at all. It's surrender to impulses, to distraction, to whatever feels easiest in the moment. And staying here long enough doesn't just waste your time. It slowly convinces you that you were never capable of more in the first place. Level 2 is where discipline finally appears, but only when someone is watching. Here, you can be responsible, but it's triggered from the outside. Deadlines, bosses, parents, exams, pressure. If nobody expects anything from you, nothing happens. You show up to work on time because you're afraid of getting fired. You study the night before the exam because you're afraid of failing. You clean your room only when guests are coming over. From the outside, it can look like you're functioning just fine. You hit the minimum requirements. You deliver just in time. You're not falling apart, you're just never really ahead. Inside, everything is powered by fear and urgency. You don't start early. You wait until it hurts not to start. The alarm clock isn't a tool, it's an enemy. Tasks are not choices, they're threats that eventually catch up. At this level, you don't really have discipline, you have compliance. You move when life pushes you. When the pressure fades, your effort disappears with it. Weekends? No pressure, no structure. Vacation? No structure, no progress. If nobody is demanding anything from you, you quietly revert to level 1. The problem is long-term growth. Big goals, health, skills, money, mastery, don't come with constant alarms. No one forces you to read, to train, to learn, to build something slowly for years. So those things simply never happen. People at this level often say, I can be disciplined, I just need a deadline. I work best under pressure. I'll get serious when I really have to. But that moment rarely arrives the way they imagine. Life doesn't send a calendar invite saying, today is the day you become the person you were meant to be. Situational discipline keeps you from collapsing, but it also keeps you from rising. You survive. You maintain. You meet expectations as long as they come from someone else. Level 2 feels safe because it's familiar. But as long as your discipline belongs to other people, so does your future. Level 3 is where discipline finally starts to look impressive from the outside. Here, you can work hard, but only when you're chasing a clear, exciting goal. You want abs for summer, you're in the gym every day. You want a promotion, you're suddenly the most productive person in the office. You want to pass an exam, you study like a machine for 2 weeks. At this level, effort is bursty. You're either all in or not in at all. You can lock in, grind, sacrifice sleep, skip distractions, but only as long as the goal still feels motivating. When the novelty fades, so does your discipline. You rely heavily on emotion, motivation, hype, fear of missing out, fear of failing. Once those feelings calm down, progress slows, then stops. People at this level often say, "I just need a big goal to stay focused. When I really want something, I can do anything." And that's partly true, but it also means if you don't feel like it, you do nothing. Goal-based discipline can create impressive short-term results, transformations, comebacks, big pushes. But without a constant target in sight, you drift. You're dangerous in sprints, but still weak in marathons.
Level 4 is where discipline stops being dramatic and starts being real. Here, you don't rely just on big goals or emotional hype. You build systems. Instead of saying, "I need to lose 10 kilos, you say, "I train 4 times a week. That's who I am now." Instead of, "I have to finish this project," it becomes, "I work on it every day from 7 to 9 p.m., non-negotiable." At this level, you understand a simple truth. Goals decide direction, systems decide progress. You still have emotions, doubts, lazy days, but your routine doesn't ask how you feel. It just says, "It's time. Do the next step." People at this level use tools, calendars, reminders, checklists, time blocks, not to feel productive, but to remove thinking from the equation. Less, "Do I feel like working today?" More, "It's Monday. This is what I do on Mondays." You're no longer obsessed with instant results. You trust the compound effect of showing up, even when nothing exciting is happening. From the outside, it can look boring. Same habits, same schedule, over and over. But that's the quiet power of system discipline. You don't chase intensity, you build consistency, and let consistency change your life. Level 5 is where discipline stops being something you do and quietly becomes something you are. Here, habits are no longer battles you fight every day. They're part of your identity. You don't say, "I'm trying to work out." You say, "I'm the kind of person who trains, even when it's inconvenient." You don't think, "I should really stop wasting time." You think, "I don't do that anymore. That's not me." At this level, discipline is driven by self-respect, not fear or guilt. You keep promises to yourself because breaking them feels wrong, like lying to someone you care about. People at this stage often redesign their environment. They remove temptations, set clear boundaries, and surround themselves with others who take their lives seriously. They still have bad days, of course. They still procrastinate sometimes, still overthink, still slip. But instead of collapsing for weeks, they reset quickly. One bad day doesn't become a bad month. A missed workout doesn't become, "I've ruined everything." The question is no longer, "How do I force myself to do this?" It becomes, "How do I live in a way that matches who I've decided to be?" Identity discipline is powerful because it attacks the root, your story about yourself. Change that, and your behavior has no choice but to follow. Level 6 is where discipline plugs into something bigger than comfort, goals, or even identity. A deeper purpose starts driving the whole system. Here, you're no longer disciplined just to look better, earn more, or feel in control. You're disciplined because your actions are linked to something that actually matters to you. Your family, your craft, your future, your values, your why. Waking up early isn't a flex anymore. It's simply what has to happen so you can build the life you refuse to regret. Distractions still exist. You still feel temptation, boredom, doubt, like everyone else. But now, every choice passes through a quiet filter. Does this move me closer to what truly matters, or further away from it? People at this level often simplify their life. Fewer meaningless commitments, fewer fake obligations, more energy directed into a small number of important things. They say no more often, not because they're cold, but because they finally understand that time and attention are finite. Failure still hurts, setbacks still sting, but quitting stops being an option, because walking away would mean betraying more than a habit. It would mean betraying a mission. Purpose-driven discipline feels less like force and more like gravity pulling you forward. You don't have to constantly push yourself. You're being pulled by the person you're trying to become. Level 7 is where discipline stops feeling like a skill and starts looking a lot like your operating system.
Life still throws chaos at you, stress, loss, uncertainty, bad luck, but instead of destroying your routines, it just bends them. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You rely on structure. You've built systems so deeply into your days that even when you're tired, angry, or unmotivated, a minimum version of your habits still happens. You don't train only when you're inspired. You train because it's Tuesday. You don't work on your craft only when you feel creative. You sit down, start, and let inspiration catch up if it wants to. At this level, you see discipline for what it really is. Not punishment, not obsession, but a form of quiet freedom. Freedom from impulse, freedom from regret, freedom from waking up one day and realizing you abandoned the person you could have become. You know you'll still make mistakes. You know you'll still have phases where everything feels heavy. But deep down, there's a calm certainty. I may slow down, I may stumble, but I don't stop. And if you're somewhere on the path to this level, keep going. Your future self is already waiting for you. And if you want more videos that push you toward them, hit subscribe and stay in the discipline game.